Thank you so very much. Please, may we get seated. I want to invite to the high table the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Kashere, Professor Umar Pate, Professor of Mass Communication and an international communicator of repute. So you are highly welcome. He comes along with the chairman of the governing council of the Federal University of Kashere. We are honored to have the Vice Chancellor and the chairman of the governing council of Kashere Federal University to grace our event. Please, we want to call on the principal officers of our university, Gombe State University, who are here to kindly come forward to fill up the front seat. I also want to call on the Dean of Student Affairs, Associate Professor Hassana Bello, please to come to the high table. I am highly gender sensitive, and the university as a policy is also gender sensitive. This is the current and serving Dean of Student Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to please place this to our notice that currently the university is writing the first semester examination, and there are quite a number of faculty who are invigilating and students who are currently taking their examination. The reason why their attendance at this instance is reflecting this. But as time goes on, we expect faculty members and students to join us. You are welcome to the international conference. Without wasting of much time, and I will now welcome to the podium the Dean of, before the Dean comes forward, we will call on prayers to be offered. Please, may I call on the Professor Funsho Bello and Dr. Saleh Abdulkader of the Department of Political Science to come forward to offer prayers both Islamically and Christologically.
Okay, let us pray, please. God Almighty, we want to really appreciate you for the gift of life. Were it not for your mercy, many of us will have been dead. But out of your benevolence, you have kept us alive while others have died. For this, we acknowledge you, we give you all the praise. We are here for an important conference, and people have come from various places in this Nigeria. I am praying that all that we are going to do here today and the rest of the day will bring glory to your holy name. And all those people that have come from various places, when it is time for them to go back, I pray everybody will arrive their destination safely. All this we have asked in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you.
Sallu ala Nabil Kareem. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim wa barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidul Majid. Allahumma ja'al ijtimana hadha ijtima marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma wa la taj'al fina wa la minna wa la ma'ana shakiyan wa la mahruma. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you, Dr. Saleh Abdulkader of the Department of Political Science, the former Assistant Secretary of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Gombe State University branch. Professor Funshaw is the current head of Department of Public Administration. You are all welcome to our first international conference. As we proceed, we'll be observing dignitaries who are here to grace the occasion. I want to, at this stage, state that the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences is constituted with 10 academic departments, and it is one of the earliest faculties established when the university was founded precisely 20 years ago. The first dean, Professor Sani Abba Aliyu, who is of the Department of English. He was the first dean and who served as the dean for well above 5 years. The second dean is of the Department of Economics, Professor J.W. D. Somasundara. He held sway as the dean of the faculty for about 10 years. The third dean of the faculty is of the Department of History, Professor Ibrahim Waziri Abubakar, Fellow of the Historical Society of Nigeria. He has been dean for about 4 years. Professor Ibrahim Waziri Abubakar was formerly the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Gombe State University and also the Dean of School of Postgraduate Studies. He also at some point served as the head of the Department of History before ascending to the position of Dean. He will now come forward to present the welcoming remarks as Dean of the Faculty of Art and Social Sciences. Please, round of applause as Professor Ibrahim Waziri Abubakar comes forward for his welcoming remarks. Prof. Sir, you are welcome. Yeah. Professor Ibrahim Waziri Abubakar had his first degree in ABU Zaria, his second degree in ABU Zaria, his PhD in the University of Abuja.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Gombe State, and your entourage, the Vice Chancellor, Gombe State University, the Vice Chancellor, Federal University Kashiri, and members of your Governing Council, Deputy Vice Chancellors of Gombe State University here present, the Registrar, Basa, University Librarian, Directors, Deans, keynote speakers, lead paper presenters, professors, invited guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my honor and great pleasure to welcome you all to the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Gombe State University Maiden International Conference with the theme, Value System and Core Challenges in the Contemporary Global World. Your presence and participation are encouraging response to deliberate on issues of concern to the people. Between today and tomorrow, you have the opportunity to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and build bridges for collaboration. This is a gathering of bright minds, and I'm sure that the insights that will be shared will have a lasting positive impact on our work and on society at large. We expect a communique at the end of the conference outlining the key resolutions and important messages the conference wished to communicate to the world. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Vice Chancellor of Gombe State University, Professor Ali Usman El Napati, for creating the enabling environment for the conference to be actualized. I would like also appreciate, we would like to also appreciate the keynote speaker, Professor Usman Tar, and would like to thank the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University Kashere, Professor Umar Pate, for his material and moral support for the conference and his acceptance to be a lead paper presenter. I would also, I also thank my former colleague in Bauchi College of Arts and Science, Bacchus, Professor Samuel Zalanga, for accepting to be a lead paper presenter. The participation of these professors and, in fact, the presence of the Deputy Governor had added spices to this conference. We thank you very much. I also extend my gratitude to all conference participants. We also are grateful to all members of the local organizing committee of the conference for their commitment, dedication, and hard work practically manifested by this gathering. This conference should be seen as an opportunity to dissect and analyze the challenges of development, come out with new perspectives that will place us on the proper route of development and a bright and prosperous future. Thank you all once again. I look forward to a productive and inspiring conference. Once more, you are welcome. Thank you.
That is Professor Ibrahim Waziri Abakar, FHSN, current Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. I want to acknowledge the presence of the current Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic of Gombe State University, Professor Sani Ahmed Yauta. Professor, you are welcome, sir. He's a professor of education, management, and finance. You are welcome to our international conference. Also, we have Professor Peter B. Zira, a member of the Governing Council, Federal University of Kashere. Welcome, sir. We have Professor Muhammad Salih Jamal. He's a member of the Governing Council, Federal University of Kashere. Professor Jibril Al-Hassan, the Liberian Federal University of Kashere. You are welcome, sir. Professor S.L. Keller, the DVC Academic Federal University Kashere. Welcome, sir. Dr. Bashir Abdullahi, member of the Governing Council, Federal University of Kashere. You can see the Governing Council of Kashere is fully present here. We hope they've not come to colonize Gombe State University because we are going to resist it. Welcome to every distinguished invited guest and our participants. On this note, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the opening remark by our very amiable Vice Chancellor of Gombe State University, Professor Aliu Usman El Nafati, Officer of the Federal Republic. He's ably and competently represented here by the current serving DVC administration, Professor Tanladi Umar. Please, sir, you are welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of the state, Dr. Manasseh Daniel Jato, the Chairman, Governing Council, Federal University of Kashere, members of the Governing Council, Federal University Kashere, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic of the State University, the Vice Chancellor Federal University Kashere, members of his management team here present, the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Gombe State University, Provost, College of Medical Sciences, Gombe State University, Registrar, Bossa, Gombe State University, other principal officers of Gombe State University here present, members of the press, distinguished presenters at this great occasion, the keynote presenter, Professor Umar Ta, lead presenters, Professor Umar Pate, DC Kashere, Professor Samuel Zalanga, the Chairman, Local Organizing Committee, and all other invited guests, including top government functionaries. Good morning. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor of Gombe State University, Professor Aliu Usman El Nafati, OFR, who is on an official engagement outside Gombe, I would like to welcome especially His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Gombe State, and all other participants and entourage that are here present. Your Excellency, sir, I would like to note that your presence here not only makes us happy, but makes us very proud and motivated because of the continuous effort and support your government is giving to Gombe State University. We are growing from strength to strength. We are moving from height to height. Without your support, all this would have been very impossible. Your Excellency, sir, I would like to welcome the delegates to this international conference of Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, which is taking off today. And would like to welcome all participants, and would like participants to take a breath and go around Gombe State University after or during the conference. That will give you more information about Gombe State University and the kind of giant strides Gombe State government is doing to bridge the gap in the educational sector, not only for the state, but for the Northeast and Nigeria in general. So on this note, I would like to welcome you all and wish you all the very best in the conference, and also as you finish the conference, wish you a very safe journey back to your destination. Your Excellency, thank you once again. We really appreciate your presence here. Thank you very much.
This round of applause is for the MC, not the good. That is Professor Enladi Umar, Professor of Biological Sciences, who has won quite a number of grants and is currently the DVC admin of Gombe State University. We want to acknowledge the presence of some members of the faculty who had played very important role in putting together this international conference. Courtesy expects me to acknowledge Professor Rashid Abdul Ghani, the current Director of Academic Planning of GSU, a member of the Planning Committee, Professor Adewale Ogurinade, former Deputy Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies. He served as the LOC Chairman. He is of the Department of Religion, just as Professor Rashid Abdul Ghani. We also have Associate Professor Lawal Oladimeji, who had played a very critical role in putting together this international conference. We also have the presence of Associate Professor Umar Adamu, aka TJ, former HOD Public Administration. He's well seated. You are welcome, sir. We will move. Okay, here also we have Mrs. Aisha Babayole, a member of the Governing Council, FUK, and Mrs. Edith Osanju Peju, member Governing Council, FUK. You are welcome, Madam. We will move to the next item on the agenda. That is item number 7, which is the goodwill message by the Deputy Governor of Gombe State, His Excellency Dr. Manasseh Jatau. Your Excellency, sir, you're welcome.
Let me do what I know how to do best. To borrow the protocol established by the Master of Ceremony and stand on it and continue. This is for obvious reasons. One, our brothers in economics say other things being equal. Today it seems things are not equal, and therefore we are taking this program very late and well behind schedule. And therefore, since things are not equal, the other protocols that we used to know will be skipped, and it has been skipped. Thank you very much. To God be the glory and gratitude for granting us the privilege. To God be the glory and gratitude for granting us the privilege and favor to participate and witness at the first international conference organized by the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences on the theme Value System and Core Challenges in the Global World. In good time, however, let me welcome you all to the place that we call the Jewel of the Savannah, the state that is equidistant to all other 5 states that surround the Northeast. As I speak now, it is 242 kilometers to Yola, 295 kilometers to Taraba, 158 kilometers to Bauchi, 295 kilometers to Yobe, and 300 kilometers to Maiduguri, though for reasons of security, that journey has been amended. So you are really at the center of the Northeast, and let me sincerely welcome you. Secondly, let me present the goodwill and the good wishes of His Excellency the Governor of Gombe State, who I know would have been here, but based on the turbulence in the economy, he is in Abuja attending to so many issues. I am really happy that this event is holding in our own Gombe State out of 37 possible locations. So the probability of this event to have held in Gombe would have been 1/37. So for us to have gotten this opportunity, we thank the organizers for bringing it to Gombe. We in Gombe will see it as a conference that was necessary, that is apt, that is germane, that is important, and indeed it is inevitable, considering the global trend of happenings and behavioral patterns in these contemporary days. Whereas it is stated that industrialization, urbanization, and so-called modernization has an inverse relationship with morality, our own case is really different and requires you to go beyond studies. We are not developed, we are not industrialized, and yet our morality has gone to the lowest. What then is our explanation? It is disheartening to note that our society has deviated greatly from our own cultures of hard work and labor dignity. Our culture is almost being subsumed by some cultures, which is really alarming. And I'm sure the question may be asked, has sociology and the social sciences failed if some cultures are overtaking our morality today? We have a situation where people want to earn where they have not worked, even when we are clearly told that you will reap where you sow. Yet, there are others that want to reap where they did not sow. People believe in taking shortcuts, as is the case with 419 and of recent other things that you see. In the educational sector, we are having fake graduates. We have non-academic students in our midst. This is really lamentable, and I think we are challenged to do what we can do to stop all these things that we have never had. You would have seen that just of recent, at the NYC camp, about 40, they say whether tomato sellers or fish sellers were mobilized to do NYC. That was just 3 days ago. For goodness sake, what is happening? May I, at this point, refer to the teachings of the Holy Books and criminologists accordingly. In one of the Holy Books, it is stated in Thessalonians 3:10 that if any will not walk, so should he not eat. But we are having people that are eating more than those of us that are even walking. This is a deviation from our norm. In the Holy Quran, we have been told that there is no disease that God has said to mankind that he has not created the medicine and remedy for it earlier. Similarly, criminologists assert that somewhere, somehow, lies the solution to the problem. I charge you, as academicians, people that are supposed to teach, do research, and also engage in community work, to please devote all your knowledge, all your wisdom in trying to find the solutions that are devouring us now. The converse of it, we will ask, what are these universities really doing? If we cannot use our knowledge to solve our problems, we will ask, what are the universities doing? I'm not happy to hear a university having about 1,000 professors, and yet we still depend on books from abroad to teach. What were we processing? Why can't we document and enter the class with our own work? These are all deviations from what is. I want to appeal to my listeners that whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. Because one of the books of the Bible told us, whatever you find your hand to do it very well, for there is no knowledge, no wisdom, and no any other thing that you can do in the grave. So please, let us do our own work well. For the medical profession, the scientists, please have been making this appeal. It's an appeal that I will make until I expire from this planet. Please use your knowledge, apply it on our plants, and create medicines for the diseases that are confronting us. If we are waiting for donations from donor partners, please be aware. Those in sociology of development would have told you there is donor fatigue, there is donor doubt, there is donor denial, and eventually donor stoppage. When it stops, where will we start? We must take the bull by our horns and make sure that we create vaccines and medicines from the numerous plants that we have. This is not strange because whatever medicine you are having today is also from plants by other people. Please, I'm also the Faculty of Social Sciences and Arts, and therefore I urge you all to ensure that your department remains relevant, responsive to issues, resilient, and adaptable. You will recall that what Charles Darwin really said was that the species that will survive is the one that is adaptable to a situation, not the strongest. It is wrong to say survival of the fittest is talking of strength. No, that was the doctrine of Herbert Spencer. But what Darwin said was that whatever species that can adapt is the one that will survive. We must struggle and survive. We are having problems, but I'm sure you are equal to the task based on the fact that I told you earlier that there is no problem that God has created mankind that the answer is there. I charge you to use all your knowledge and find those answers. As you go into your conferences, please appraise your performance. Appraise your performance also as to the expectations of the society. The society is looking much on you and therefore see whether you are really performing to it. Please borrow from the critical theories who always maintain that self-criticism is the monumental enterprise in the activities of men. If you are not ready to criticize yourself, you cannot progress. I want to stop with an old age leftist doctrine, dip your pocket where you are. Don't wait until you are busy. Don't wait until you are chairman of the governing council. Don't wait until you are the head of department. Then don't wait until you are the dean of the student affairs like my friend who abandoned me. Dip your pocket where you are means do what you can do to make sure that your department survives. Thank you.
That was a very stimulating speech by the Deputy Governor of Gombe State, His Excellency Dr. Manasseh. It will interest you to know that his PhD thesis is based on medical sociology. He's a sociologist by training and a former Deputy Comptroller General of the Nigerian Custom, where he served well over 20 years before he took up appointment as a senior lecturer at the Bingham University. The Deputy Governor, before ascending the coveted and exalted position of Deputy Governor, was once an academic like many of us. And once an academic, always an academic. We are quite honored, sir, to have you in our midst. And we are confident that going forward, you will create time to always engage. I'm happy the representative of the head of Department of Sociology is here. Probably you may need His Excellency's permission. You may give him a course on medical sociology. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We want to, at this juncture, welcome the cultural display band by the Gombe State Cultural Troupe. This is your time, please. You have 10 minutes, please. 10 minutes. Thank you so very much, the cultural troupe of Gombe State. I want to call on Professor Muhammad Lawal Kirifi from the Federal University of Kashere to please come to the high table. He is the representative of our keynote speaker, Professor Usman Ta, the current commissioner for internal security in Gombe State. You are welcome, sir. Please be seated, sir. We will move to the. Okay. Okay. Professor Usman Ta is from Borno State, the Commissioner, Honorable Commissioner, Information and Internal Security of Borno State. You are welcome, Prof. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which will be the oration that will be rendered on our keynote speaker, Professor Usman Ta, the Honorable Commissioner of Information and Internal Security of Borno State. And may I call on one of our undergraduate students, Husseina Muhammad Dan Azumi, to step forward, to come forward to read the
oration on the theme of the conference.
On the theme of the conference, okay. She is going to present an oration on the theme of the conference.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and pleasure for me to stand here before you all to share some few words of inspiration. Nigeria, a nation blessed with rich cultural diversity and social value, has gradually drifted away from its traditional foundations. We have gradually neglected our social and cultural values, embracing instead the value systems of other countries. We have forgotten the wisdom of our ancestors, the bounds of our community, and the resilience of our traditional ways. We have adopted values that prioritize individualism over community, materialism over spirituality, and cooperation over competition. And no meaningful development and nation building can take place when societal values and value systems are being neglected or broken without remedy or resort. We have to explore how we can revitalize our indigenous value systems and change the lens through which we view our country. Integrate them with modernity and create a new path forward that is authentic, sustainable, and prosperous for all Nigerians. It is time to boldly offer our valuable contributions. The true power of our country lies in her youth and the unyielding spirit. So let us elevate Nigeria by nurturing the spirit and telling the right stories. Because narratives matter. What we say about ourselves matters. Who we believe ourselves to be matters. Our scheme, propositions, and ideas, if we dare resuscitate the spirit of grace and glory for this country, we will create a prosperous Nigerian community whose sustainable developments will be you-driven. Yes, you, because you are Nigeria's biggest capital, its greatest asset. As we embark on this journey of discovery, I would like to share a poem that inspires us to tap into our inner strength and resilience. Please join me in reciting Igniting Resilience. And it goes on like this. Standing on the threshold of my bedroom, gazing at the sunset, forming and informing different scenarios in my mind, spinning thought like a spinning scarf, looking at how my world falls in a tunnel within a tunnel, like a drenched dreaded bee, like a mother of forgetfulness who ripples for a pebble, tossed in a stream. Tears scald my cheeks. But when I remember that dealing with the future is both exciting and scary, one feeling after the other, or but at once. Sometimes it takes things falling apart for you to realize just how much of yourself you need to put together. My heart says, just look at any adversity that befalls you from a point of strength rather than weakness. Your strength doesn't come from how much you conquer, but how much you nourish your inner gardener. You see, what the night brings to you is beyond radiant color toned dim. It teaches you how in darkness solitude can be a gift, a tunnel of truth, a path to the light that lies within you. So whenever life feels like a storm, ready to take you down, whenever life knocks you down, whenever they say you can't, remember that there are countless people out there who have defeated the odds and changed the world. Their power is in their resilience. They are passionate, unshakable, and bold enough, determined to make their voices heard and make history unfold. Just like the river is fed by many streams, you are not alone in this struggle. You are the sun. Get up and brush yourself off like a clown. Speak reality into your life with so much conviction that you cannot resist becoming the light. My heart says, I do not know today if I have spoken with certainty enough, but I do hope you internalize this and realize that as cliche as it sounds, as dark as it looks, there is truly a light at the end of the tunnel, and the only reason you are yet to see it is because you are the light journeying to the end of that tunnel. So take a leap of faith and reach for the sky, like a bird taking flight with wings to fly. Bow down and pray, holding on to every bit of your being, to the promises you made. After all, you are a woman. I smiled and said, yes, I am a woman, born with the hearts of 1,000 mothers, open and fearless, without limit nor boundaries, a roller coaster ride, but agony and glee. My experiences made me wiser, not for lonely. So to all the men and women sitting here and around the globe, perk up your ears and listen. You are good enough. You are strong enough. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Stop replaying the past in your mind. It is gone. Let your mind be a forge. Your ideas the molten steel. Shape them into something new, beyond your wildest fears. Let your thought flow free and allow them ignite. Each day, each hour, each moment counts. No one should pass by without a sound, for the echo of each choice you make will reverberate in the future's wake. Even if it is as small as a mustard seed, it can make a big difference. From a tiny spark, a mighty flame can grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Husseina Muhammad Dang Azumi. She is of the Department of Political Science, currently a 300 level second class upper student. What this implies is that in an era of dwindling value system and morality, Gombe State University, one of the most beautiful universities in Nigeria, can boast of a very brilliant, focused, immaculate, and disciplined student in the person of Husseina Muhammad. And we hope that she will eventually become a scholar of letters, inshallah. I want to recognize the presence of the Chief Imam of our university, Professor Inua Dahiru, the current head of the Department of Religion. We are honored with your religious presence, sir. Please, I want to announce a slight tinkering with the items on the program of event. Our next item is the keynote address by Professor Umar Ta, the Honorable Commissioner of Information and Internal Security of Borno State. But because of the fact that the governing council of the university, Federal University of Kashiri, has a very important function slated for about 10 a.m. But because of the importance, Professor Umar Pati, the Kaigama of Adamawa, and a very good friend of our university, because of the good fraternity he has with us, he honored this international conference. As you can see, he didn't come alone, but he came with a large retinue of the who is who in Federal University of Kashiri. So he is going to be called upon now to present his lead paper. So instead of item number 10, we will take item number 11. The keynote speaker, Professor Usman Ta, has magnanimously and graciously approved this slight modification. So we thank you so very much, Sir Professor Kirifi. His name is actually Dr. Musa Kirifi Muhammad. I think this is quite humble of you, sir. So it is the correction is noted. I will now, on this note, call on Professor, the lead paper presenter one, Professor Umar Pati, Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Kashiri, Kaigaman Adamawa, to please step forward for his paper presenter. So once again, you are all welcome to the first international conference organized by the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, one of the most vibrant faculties in the university. What the faculty envisages is to follow suit with the scholarly tradition of some of the first generation and second generation universities. Okay, sorry, sir. And this faculty is made up of 10 academic departments. And the faculty has the potential of being balkanized into 3 faculties. That is the Faculty of Management Sciences, Faculty of Humanities, and Faculty of Social Sciences, all matched into one big faculties under the able leadership. Okay, under the able leadership of Professor Ibrahim Waziri Abubakar. So the first international conference was conceived with a view to intellectualize on important issues of national importance. Therefore, on this note, may I once again call on the lead paper presenter, Professor Umar Pati, Kaigamang Adama. Before he presents, I have the singular honor to render the citation of Professor Umar Pati. This colossus of a scholar standing before us, Professor Umaru Pate Kaigamang of Adamawa, is a professor of media and society and the current vice chancellor of the Federal University Kashiri in Gombe State, Nigeria. He was appointed the vice chancellor of FUK in February 2021. Before then, he had served as the founding dean of the Faculty of Communication, Bayero University, Kano, and the immediate past dean of the School of Postgraduate Studies and the acting chair of the Committee of Deans and Directors in the same university in the period 2019 to 2021. Equally, he is the immediate past vice chairman of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund Advisory Group, and a member of the National Research and Development Standing Committee. Before relocating to Bayero University, Kano as a professor, he had served as a professor in the Department of Mass Communication at the University of Maiduguri, where he rose through the ranks beginning as a graduate assistant in 1988, an associate professor in 2002, and full chair in 2007. He headed the mass communication department in that university for a total of 7 years. Pate holds a PhD in media history, UNIMED 1997. Master of Philosophy in Communication Studies, University of Ghana, Legon, 1990. And Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication obtained in 1987. In November 2017, Professor Pate was appointed as a director representing Africa on the 6-person board of directors of the prestigious international network of UNESCO professors in communication, with headquarters at the University of Quebec at Montreal, Canada. In addition, he is affiliated to several national and international organizations, as well as the current president, Society of Nigerian Broadcasters, and national president of the Association of Communication Scholars and Professionals of Nigeria. He is an editorial advisor to 12 communication journals in and out of Nigeria, and had variously served as an external examiner to 15 universities in Nigeria and abroad. Some of the universities are UNILAC, Ibadan, Nsukka, ABU, Covenant, Bowen, Jos, Oka, Enugu State, Leicester in the United Kingdom, Tehran in Iran, and Makeni in Sierra Leone. He had served on several federal and state government committees and currently chairs the board of Center for Journalism, Innovation, and Development in West Africa, and Pulaku FM radio station in Yola. He has working relationships with the University of Ohio and Alcon in USA, and that of Al Ain in the United Arab Emirates. In his career, Professor Pate has applied and successfully won funding grants at various times from the Ford Foundation, National Agency for the Control of Aid, the World Bank, Panos Institute of Washington, Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Friedrich Albert Foundation of Germany, the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and the MacArthur Foundation, among others. For example, from 2017 to date, his proposals had attracted grants in millions of dollars for the Faculty of Communication in Bayero University, Kano. From the MacArthur Foundation, part of the grants were used to establish the Digital BUK FM radio and digital BUK television, as well as review the National Communication and Media Studies curriculum that unbundled mass communication in Nigerian universities. In 2017, he got a grant from the UK-funded NRSP to publish a book on media, diversity, and conflict reporting in Nigeria. Equally, he had attracted funding in the last 2 years to start an FM radio station, FUK 89.10, and establish laboratories for the basic medical sciences in preparation for the takeoff of a College of Medical Sciences in Federal University, Kashere, Gombe. Earlier, he has secured grants to establish digital FM radio and DBS television stations in BUK. Very importantly, too, he chaired the process that reviewed Nigeria's national curriculum for communication and media studies, which was approved and launched by the federal government of Nigeria last year. Professor Pate is widely traveled and extensively published in books and journals across the globe. For example, in the last 4 years, he has presented papers and participated in high-level academic and policy dialogue in Helsinki, Finland, Oslo, Norway, London, and Cambridge, the United Kingdom, Paris, France, Jakarta in Indonesia, Lima in Peru, Mexico City, Montevideo in Uruguay, Zaragoza in Spain, Mumbai, India, among others. Professor Pate is a recipient of numerous academic and other prestigious awards and recognitions from different institutions and bodies that include the BBC World Service in London, University Pancasila in Indonesia, University of Punjab in Pakistan, and the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, as well as the Nigerian Union of Journalists. He holds the traditional title of Kaigaman, Adamawa Senior Counselor and Kingmaker in Adamawa Emirate, a title that he inherited from his forefathers. It may interest you to know that the Kaigama had remained with their house since 1809, when Modibo Adama established the Fombina or Adamawa Emirate. Pate is currently concluding his biographical book on Professor Jibril Aminu, one-time VC of UNIMID, former Education and Petroleum Resources Minister, Nigeria's ambassador to the USA, and two-term Senator of Nigeria. Professor Umaru Pate delivered the 2023 NAL Annual Lecture on Media, Diversity, and Nigeria's National Integration, a topic that was timely, relevant, and indeed desired at this point in Nigeria's history. Professor Pate has so far supervised and graduated 23 PhDs and 45 MSc candidates. Many of his students are today professors and senior officers in media houses in and out of Nigeria. He is happily married to Hajia Zainab Abubakar. And let me place it on record that in the build-up, while planning for this conference, the LOC contacted Professor Pate, and he generously and hands-only donated quite a lot of money towards this conference. He did the same when I was planning the Northeast Conference of the Historical Society of Nigeria. So it is not out of place to say that he is a philanthropist and highly charitable. Mr. Chairman, sir, it is with delight that I present to you Professor Umar Pate, Professor of Media and Society, and an extensively connected scholar who has traversed the length and breadth of Nigeria, a scholar that has established global links in his discipline, a scholar that has offered significant academic contributions and influenced national directions in Nigeria, to present the lead paper number 1. Prof, you are welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, sir, my Chairman of Council, Professor Aderamu, Council members of Federal University Kashere, the 2 Deputy Vice Chancellors of JSU, management staff of JSU, other management staff from Kashere, our colleagues, distinguished participants to this conference, our dear students, good morning. Let me just clear something a little. The donation that I gave for the Historical Society of Nigeria, and this particular conference did not come from the coffers of FUK. Rather, it came from my grants. So for Historical Society, I gave them 500,000. For the Counseling and Guidance Association, 500,000. And for this particular one, 300,000. So, and they are all from the grants that I have. And they are not the only people. Several others have been getting these small monies. And this is the essence of sometimes getting these grants. If you get the grant, why don't you remember some of your colleagues who perhaps are yet to get their own? Now, for this conference, I've been given the theme, and what I did, I tried to just take an aspect which I titled Value Systems and Modernity Challenges in Nigeria. And I would like to start by first of all congratulating the faculty on this important occasion. This is what we should be doing in the universities. Faculties of Social and Management Sciences or Arts and Social Sciences, as they may be referred to, are usually faculties where numerous conferences are organized. People come with all sorts of perspectives, do a lot of debates, and at the end of the day, keep the university lively through this kind of engagements. This is part of the culture all of us should sustain in the university system. And this is also how we come up with ideas that can add value to policy directions, can improve the the general quality of life of our people, and above all, keep us as academics quite challenged on a daily basis. So I thank you very much for inviting me. And I've started by talking about cultural values. What are they? I won't go into detailed definitions, but in general, we know that cultural values are beliefs, practices, and institutions that are developed by communities for their own direction. They are important guides in understanding and responding to situations in our environment. And without values, without culture, you can easily see the nakedness in individuals. But these cultures, institutions, and values help to make us or to give us the humanity that we need for us to operate as human beings. Just as there are cultural values, there are also what particularly people in sociology and philosophy refer to as disvalues, which means the negative values. Cultural disvalues are seen as undue, excessive, and unrewarding traditional practices that retard progress and development. This indicates that values are not only or should not only be seen positively, but there are also the other aspects of it that sometimes instead of helping us to go forward, it subverts our efforts, arrests our progress, and undermines our development. We're going to take a little look at the two of them. Now, understanding value system. Values are derived from and shaped by culture. And these values also help to give us the identity that we require as individuals to be distinct in the community of nations. And when we talk of identity, sociologists will easily tell you that there are two major sources of identity. There's what we call ascribed identity and acquired identity. Ascribed identities are identities that we are born with and we cannot change. For example, the name of your father, or maybe your own father, you can't change. Your mother, you cannot change. And maybe your sex, you may not also change, even though they do change it these days. These are naturally assigned identities. But we also have a lot of ascribed identities which we acquire, acquired identities which we acquire in the course of life. For example, on the day one is born, he is referred to as maybe a baby. Then as you grow, you become an adolescent, the identity is changing. You come into a university as an undergraduate, your identity is that of an undergraduate. The day you graduate, your identity changes to that of a graduate. And the day you die, your identity changes from that of a human being to a corpse. So you can see at every point, your identity will be changing. If you join politics, your identity becomes that of a politician. If you decide to remain in the university, your identity is that of an academic or or university administrator or whatever it is. So these identities, some we acquire them, some they are forced on us. Now, values are not only held by individuals, they are also the domain of the collective, which means we have societal values. Just like how we have individual values, we also have societal values. And these values, like we have said, help us to establish the standards for maintaining the culture that will see us through life. Values inform members of a culture as to what is considered right and wrong. We are talking about ethics. In many of our values, or in many of our cultures, there are certain things that we do which are negatively perceived and rejected by society. There are also those that are rewarding, those that are encouraged, and those that are seen as promising as well as progressive for the society. There are also, like we have said, there are correct and incorrect values depending on where you are in society. And of course, there are appropriate and inappropriate cultures, but all of these things will depend on context. Context is extremely important for us in communication, just like how you also have in sociology and psychology. Context gives meaning, adds value to some of the things that you do. What may be acceptable in Gombe State as a value may be completely rejected elsewhere, depending on the peculiarities and circumstances of the context. So values also define the ethical direction for individuals in the context of the wider society. Now, let me give you an example with one of the cultures that I know much more than any other, Pulaku, which is among the Fulbes. Pulaku is what gives a Pullo man identity. It what makes you a Pullo is not the redness of your ear or the beauty of your face, but the content of Pulaku that is in you. And that is why we say Pulaku can increase or it reduces. The more Pulaku increases, the more Pullo you are. The less Pulaku decreases, the less Pullo you are. And there are about 7-8 components of Pulaku, one of which is what? Modesty. That is feeling shy and not being extravagant or being bogus or being loud or being noisy. And to some people, this is what they call Auyenchi for them. But for you, it's part of your own sense of identity. Owning cows. For the Pullo, because you go to buy cows in the market, you can have 1,000 of them. So long as they are bought, you did not inherit. You are not one of them. Yours is acquired. You did not inherit. And a lot more that we can go on and on talking about. And these are the components that make that individual what he is. Not just the language, but that innate characteristics that are inbuilt in the individual. Then, of course, you have what are some of the philosophical understandings, particularly from the perspective of philosophy, of what values are. Philosophers, if you care to read, have tried to group different kinds of values in societies. And I've got some of them here: religious values, humanity and brotherhood values, communal and individualistic values, moral values, the family values, economic values, chiefship and political values, aesthetic values, knowledge values, knowledge and wisdom values, then human rights, and of course, ancestorship and tradition values. Under each of these categories, there are a number of characteristics that tend to suggest on how individuals should behave and how they make up what an individual should be. Earlier on, when the deputy governor was talking, he mentioned about the family and some other aspects relating to our traditional medicine and a lot more. These are things that we cherish. These are things that we value. And these are things that define who we are in the midst of a community. Now, making sense of modernity. I told you that the paper will be focusing on aspects of modernity. I won't go into the philosophical, sociological, developmental definitions of what modernity is. There are 1,001 definitions depending on who you are and depending on your own discipline. But let's just take the simplest aspect of what modernity is. Shifting from the traditional to what you can refer to as modern. And there are a lot of characteristics associated with all of that. Now, it is difficult, like I've said here, it is a difficult concept to satisfactorily define what is modernity because of what? Cultures, societies, individuals, professionals have their own definition of what modernity is. What could be modernity in this room, within the context of this university, could be seen as archaic and acceptable elsewhere. What is an archaic behavior elsewhere could also be seen as something that is acceptable here. So it is a very fluid concept that may be difficult to pin in one place. However, individuals in societies have their own individual definition, like I've said. If you take the Western understanding of what modernity is, or if you look at the elements of existence in the West, compare with what we have over here, there are some differences. For example, secularism is hugely, highly celebrated elsewhere. In some other places, it is not so highly celebrated, it is seen with suspicion. If you take extreme individualism, it is something that is very common in the West. Over here, it is not that common. Not that we do not practice individualism, but not to the extreme. We still believe in brotherhood. We still believe in this communal way of doing things. Then, transiting from traditional societal contexts to a modern globalizing society involves profound, radical, and often painful changes in different cultural values. Maybe I should come from the perspective of communication, which I'm very much familiar with. In the past, we were talking about traditional communication, and traditional communication did not necessarily involve use of instruments of technology for mass dissemination of information. But with developments in sciences, with development in technology of transmission of information, we have moved to introduce things like newspapers, broadcasting systems, and now we're talking about convergence, using the internet and gadgets of communication to disseminate information in a very easy, quite cheap, and very instantaneous manner. Courtesy of what? The technology which came with modernity. And today, no matter how traditional you intend to remain, you cannot say you are going to continuously transmit messages using the old ways and still attempting to reach a very large population. It's an impossibility. So if you go to every other profession, there are these changes. And these small changes that you witness in different aspects are what cumulatively come up to define society either as modern or as traditional. A number of books are available. For those of you who are in the social sciences, you know the theories of development and you know the theories in modernization. And there are all sorts of perspectives and all sorts of understandings, which we may not have the time here to debate. I hope if I have the time later in the evening, I will come back so that we can have an extensive discussion on some of these theories that we have in modernization, in this and that, and see where is our own location, where is our own space, what is the contribution from Africa, from Nigeria, either through scholarship or through technology, in the growth of humanity through technology, through all these inventions that we are seeing. Then, real changes and adjustments in inherited cultures are also part of modernity. We cannot continuously insist that the cultures we inherited from our forefathers must still remain absolutely relevant and completely able to serve all of us. Some certain cultures can serve you up to a point. It cannot take you beyond certain points. Some certain cultures, with time, they become obsolete and they become less relevant, if not becoming subversive to your progress. So we have a lot of them too. So values and institutions to innovative spirit. Everybody is talking about innovation now. The whole world is in transition. When you come to the energy sector, we are transiting from fossil energy to green energy. If you come to our communication, we are transiting from analog way of disseminating information to the digital system.
If you go to the environment, people are talking about climate change and all the difficulties and all that. Even in politics, people are transiting from maybe traditional politics to populism politics and all of that. So the whole world is in transition. And anybody who risks to say that he or she will not transit, the whole world will move. It's just like many of us in communication. If you say you are rejecting all these technologies that are coming, you reject internet, you reject convergence, then certainly you are also going to be rejected by society. So it is either you ship in or ship out. That is the logic now. And that's why even in our training, we try to see how the past can be relevant to the present for us to be able to shape the future. So these changes are necessary. Now, innovative spirit connotes what? Adoption of advanced form of knowledge. What I was taught as a student of communication is not what I'm teaching my students in my classroom today, because times have changed. And this is why sometimes we tell our colleagues, the notes you used for your students 3 years ago should not be the same notes. You have to change your course content. You have to read the newest books that are coming to town, because newer theories are coming up. Empirical studies are being conducted daily. Findings are being made. And these are the things that help to build knowledge. Now, over here in Africa, what is our contribution in the broad body of knowledge that is developing globally? For example, we do a lot of research in our universities, we publish, and when people come to theorize based on intellectual outputs from different parts of the world, they look at what is your contribution in Africa, what is your contribution in Europe, what is your contribution elsewhere. These are the things that will go into the literature, eventually lead to theory development, of course, lead to empirical research, and a lot more. And this is how body of knowledge is built. And that is why we have to encourage our colleagues to present quality studies, attend quality conferences elsewhere, not just within here, so that when you go, your voice and contribution can also be recorded and archived into the body of knowledge. Then socio-economic structures are also changing, and they have to change to accommodate our newer needs. The economic system in Nigeria as at 1900 is not the same as at 1960, is not the same as at today. As at 1960, our population was less than 60 million. And today, Nigeria is talking about 230-something million. You cannot use the same socio-economic system, the same formula that was used in 1960 to govern the Nigeria of 2024. Things have changed. So our traditions, our cultural values must also reflect these changes to be able to keep us into the contemporary world. Otherwise, we remain where we are, static, and development will just come and pass by us. But innovation does not mean total rejection of all that we have inherited. Of course, there are extremely positive values that we have inherited and will continue to serve us also. By implication, what I'm saying here is tradition is not anti-modernity. We can combine tradition with modern values, modern thinking, and still make significant progress. I've had the opportunity of traveling extensively in Asia and in different parts of Asia. Over there, you could clearly see how modernity has been able to blend with tradition for the progress of individual communities. And these are some of the issues that we have failed or we have been unable to harness in this part of the world. Now, how can we correlate cultural values and modernity, or our present contemporary situation as we know them? Can our cultural values play any role in the development of our societies in the context of the emerging challenges of modernity? Of course, if you're talking about globalization, just like how profound and remarkable progress has been achieved for humanity in the last few decades, there are also the problems that have come with them. And for every positive thing, there are also the negative aspect of it. So my answer is yes and no. We can combine the two. Yes, we can also reject some aspects from the two. Now, no, because there are features of values that are negative and subversive to the spirit of humanity. And we know them. values ordinarily that we should drop, but we are still holding on to them. And the question is, do you become a slave to a particular value, or do you employ that value for it to help you to scale through the complex matrix of life? If your value cannot help you to sail through, then there is a problem with that value. You need to take a second look at it and see what aspects need to be dropped, what aspects need to be sustained, and what aspects need to be promoted. In sociology or psychology, they tell you people hold on to attitudes for certain reasons. There are a number of reasons why people hold on to attitudes. And if you want an individual to maintain a particular attitude, you must know the value he or she is driving from the sustenance of that attitude in him. And if you also want to change that particular attitude, you must be able to give a commensurate compensation that can give him the same equal satisfaction for that value to be dropped. Otherwise, it becomes difficult for you. You can only be pontificating without achieving progress. Now, some of the less paying values are, some of the values for me that we need to take a second look at. One, excessive and unrewarding connection to the spirit of ancestors. So people always refer to you to the ancestors of, we were great, we are warriors, yes, we are warriors. Are you still using your local bows and arrows to fight the war of 2024? So this, our connection to ancestors at times, can also have its own drawbacks. The deputy governor gave us an example this morning. You are telling me run, at the same time you are holding on to my trousers. So you are telling me to modernize, to change, to develop, to learn to acquire new and rewarding behaviors. Yet, you are still insisting that I should hold on to what my grandfather also held on to. It cannot work. So there must be some spirit of accommodation. Then the second one is, again, misunderstanding of the relationship between science and religion. A lot of us religionize to cause confusion. And the commonest example I want to give is a very simple issue that should be treated based on merit, based on scholarship, based on understanding. What do? For the sake of populism, particularly in politics, we end up religionizing, politicizing, provincializing, or ethnicizing, and causing a lot of confusion in a very multicultural context like our own. And these are issues that we have to continuously re-examine for us to move on, because there are more of drawbacks, ethnic conflicts. Look, in the age of 2024, Nigeria should have been thinking of how can we harness the rewards of science, how can we develop our defense system, how can we improve policy. But what are we doing? We are still at the lowest ebb trying to settle conflicts between ethnic groups. We are still trying to make people to understand that, look, diversity is necessary in life. Multiculturalism is part and parcel of our communities. And that identity politics will not just give us the desired results within this matrix. That is where we are. And we spend so much resources addressing conflicts, addressing misunderstanding, and other poor management fallouts in diversity. Then you also have undeveloped knowledge preservation methods. Before this issue of science and religion. Today, many of us don't believe that except when we have a spiritual consultant, we cannot succeed in life. So we spend a lot of time going to local malams, going to Masuduba, doing all sorts of things for us to succeed. And some of these Masuduba, what do? They use simple psychological techniques to confuse you, to cause more problem, and make themselves richer to the bank. And here you are, a whole professor going to somebody that has not read an A in this Western school system for you to consult him to give you luck so that you can be the next vice chancellor. To head a university, you are looking for somebody that never went to a university to pray for you. So you see, by the time you look at some of these confusion that people in religion and people out of religion also create, which contradicts science, it gives a picture that science is anti-religion, which is not necessarily so. It's a matter of understanding. Then the next one is insufficient attention to science and technology generally. You cannot talk of modernity without talking of science. And then what is our own local kind of science? Have we been able to also upgrade it to move and be able to solve our own immediate needs? Again, I will refer to the Deputy Governor. He has been emphasizing on the issue of our herbal medicine. Yes, because of so many reasons, it is expensive now to buy foreign drugs. So how can we now harness the herbs that we have, the knowledge that is available, and then come up with our own drugs? This is where modernity can also, the spirit of innovation can promote our modernity. But if we do not do that, what happens? We remain archaic as we are, and still the world will be moving. And it will be quite expensive for us. Now, what are some of the positive features of culture for modernity? What are the good aspects of our culture that we can take and still move on? With some refinement and adjustment, many aspects of our cultural values can promote the spirit of innovation and modernity. And I quoted one scholar, a philosopher, who identified certain aspects that he thinks can help the African spirit, the African values to transit us into the required modernity without us necessarily missing our own cultural identity. He said humanity and brotherhood. Humanity and brotherhood, talking about the communality in terms of our kinship system, in terms of our connections as individuals, and our common humanity irrespective of our diversities. No matter what one can say, we still have points where we meet, either on the platform of religion, on the platform of brotherhood, on the platform of this or that. So for him, the argument is we need to take the positive aspects of this brotherhood that we have and look at some of the negatives imbued in this thing and see how we can refine and readjust. While we are moving towards modernity, it should not be at the expense of our concept of brotherhood and humanity. Then the second one, he talked about communalism and individualism. Yes, Africa, we are noted for our communalism in every aspect of our lives, but we also have our own protected privacy system of individualism, but not what you could refer to as extreme individualism like what we have in the West, where people do not even know who is the next neighbor. At least over here, we still greet, we still talk to each other, we still have some level of respect that we sustain in our communities. So for him, sharing a social life, common good of the community, caring for others, interdependence, each one of us here, only God knows the number of dependents on each one of us here. If you take your salary, how many people benefit from your salary? And this is why sometimes my argument with some of my colleagues in the diaspora, I tell them that I have a friend who he once challenged me somewhere, and I said, look, I am in Nigeria. Do you know how many people benefit from my salary? You are here in America. If you take your salary, they only take taxes. People in Nigeria will not send you messages, send me money. People in Nigeria will not come and knock on your door, give me something. But for me, my salary, I have to share it whether I like it or I don't, with a number of people. I told him, number two, you don't have problem of NEPA. In your university, you have electricity 24 hours. Some people work for that to happen. You have internet availability. I have to struggle even for an internet for my paper to go through. You have all this comfort, yet you don't understand the context within which we are existing. We know that, yes, we have issues, but at the same time, you are people here recognized as they invite us to come and present papers. And we do not invite you to come, and they give us ticket. Then, so interdependence is necessary. The opposite to interdependence in English is what we call autarky, being an island unto yourself. You are all in all, and you know it's an impossibility. You have to depend, and people depend on you just like how you depend on others. Then the issue of morality is another major cultural values that for him, we should not just throw it away. He's talking about preoccupation with human well-being help for the being. What kind of help do you give others simply based on your own conscience, simply based on your sense of responsibility, simply based on your feeling that you need to help another human being and that your relationship with that human being must be based on what we say in Hausa, Girma da Arziki, and not on Siya and Iskanchi. So these are all aspects of morality. There are certain things, you don't just do them, not that you cannot do them. You can do them. But your moral conscience, your moral compass tells you not to do that. And when we talk of this morality, some of these aspects of morality are derived from religion, some are derived from our culture, some are derived from normal societal observations. And this is what constitutes into what we call ethics. These ethics, some are then specialized into professional ethics, and then you have the normal moral. And you know that in philosophy of ethics, you have 3 or 4 categories of ethics. You have deontological ethics, teleological ethics, situational ethics, and utilitarian ethics. And all of these things are important elements that help us to shape our senses and give us a guide so that we can navigate in the course of relating with several other kinds of people. And then we maintain our respect. Then, of course, the family, the essence of the family unit and the extended family gives stability. The family is what gives you your identity, is what gives you your stability as an individual. And that is why once there's a problem with the family, the entire society becomes what? Problematic. Because the family is the smallest unit within the organizational system of the society. If you have a family of crooks, every child is taught to cheat in exams. And this cheating is facilitated and assisted by parents. And the parents are those who will go and smuggle their children not to do class 6 in primary school. They will promote their children not to complete Form 5 or Form 6 in secondary school. They will go and cheat in JAMB examinations and give money to their children to cheat in WAEC and NECO and still see ways that they can undercut. So for a child that got this kind of attention from his or her family with the full blessings of his father and mother, by the time he grows and graduates, and you give him a government office where resources are available, for him, stealing that money is not stealing, it is rather changing the ownership from that of government to his pocket. And these are the kind of people we have. Because the family has become dysfunctional from the 0 level. And with the excruciating poverty and the debilitating challenges we are daily going through, the family system is increasingly being overstressed. And the few breadwinners within the system are gradually failing in their responsibilities. And younger people are daily missing their milestones in life. So the consequences are what? The kind of confusion we are seeing. So we have to be extremely careful to respect and promote the sanctity of the family system as the smallest unit within the organizational context. Then, of course, the economic system. A combination of private ownership and communal ownership and welfare system is very much prevalent in Africa. And you can see even our governments, upon independence, most of them adopted this kind of mixed ownership. Government, private. And if you look at our own communal economic system in our communities, at the community level, mostly welfare is in outlook like what you have in the Scandinavian countries of Norway, Finland, and others. We still care for the welfare of the next neighbor and the next person. It's there. So, then of course, the next one is about chiefship and politics. It's not as if we do not have democracy operating at the lowest level. Our kings have their own courts. And these courts are usually made up of what? Individuals representing various interest groups in the community. And there are those who serve the chief. There are those who advise the king. And if the king misbehaves, sometimes they have even the power of removing him. So you could see that even if we do not have democracy in the Western sense, we still have our own kind of democracy that if it is finally upheld, there could be some sources of progress even from that angle. Then, of course, the next one is human rights. You cannot say in Africa we do not respect human rights. We still respect integrity and dignity of the human being. We still have that. The typical African still has respect for life. And all these things are built in our social structural system, as well as our customs and many other ways. We have the Western type of human rights, but we also have our own type of human rights. For him, the scholar that I've been talking about, we need also to see how we can refine this and hold on to it. And of course, knowledge and wisdom. A typical African elder is one who speaks to you in parables and proverbs. And we have a lot of wisdom contained in our values and in our systems that will help to shape our mentality, help to shape our appearances, help to shape our behaviors in the community of people. Then, of course, the last one is our aesthetics. That is our sense of beauty, appropriateness of beauty in human affairs and conduct. For him, we still need to look at what is beautiful about us. Our dressing pattern, for example. With my dress, I go to anywhere in the world and still feel, yes, I'm not looking terribly bad. It can still give me an identity. You go around the whole world. When you see somebody in the big gown that some of us are wearing here, there is nowhere in the world where you can get the typical Nigerian system. This gown. So we have our own kind of beauty that we admire, which we appreciate. For him, again, we also need to identify this and see how we can. So in conclusion, my arguments or my submission is one, society needs credible and viable framework to transit itself to modernity. If we look at our population in Nigeria, if we look at our resources in Nigeria, if we look at our challenges in this country, the question is, can our traditional cultural values alone catapult us into where we desire to go? The answer is no. It means we have to mix, we have to borrow, we have to take loan, or even if it means we have to steal ideas and then come and build it into what we have so that our own values can be stronger to be able to carry us into the next phase of development. Then we also need to critically reevaluate our cultural values to understand them. We need to take a critical look into ourselves. What are some of the cultural values that negatively undermine our progress, arrest our development, and keep us stagnant when some other parts of the world are moving on? Then we also need to pick and utilize identified values and adopt critical thinking in engaging the others. And this is what is increasingly lacking, critical thinking. In scholarship, we teach you to be critical. We teach you to ask relevant questions for every message that comes your way. Where you become an individual who absorbs information, hook, line, and sinker without asking questions, then in this era of the internet, where the social media is the king, and you are bombarded with new information that comes in huge volumes, with top velocity, without value, and without ability to verify, then you are going to become a stagnant dustbin of history of other people. So the question is, you must have a filter. We have to train our young ones to have filter and be critical in observing information, in seeing things and reaching conclusions. It is necessary. Once we lack that critical thinking ability, then we are in trouble, and we can see it. This is why people can easily go to AI and copy any assignment you give them. They will plagiarize in writing their papers, and they may not know the difference between Oyo and Abia, because no critical thinking. Then the next one is strengthen our traditional values to appreciate science and technology. We cannot continue to take science for granted. Science is what is catapulting the world to where some people are. Technology is it. And there's no way we can resist or confront these technologies. How can we also make our own valuable knowledge relevant? I finished. So, how can we also make our own knowledge relevant? Instead of just allowing our old men to continue to die without taking the knowledge they have in their heads. Then finally, we must also promote accountability in behavior and conduct. You will have to be accountable for every action from the family level up to the societal level. Governance must ensure that there is accountability in what it does. Individuals must be accountable for their conduct in behavior. In other words, you have to be responsible for every action that you have taken, and we should not be afraid of taking actions. But their actions must be one that we can all account for, account to God, account to man, and account to our own conscience. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these are the few thoughts that I've been able to put. I thank the Deputy Governor, and I thank you for being a very wonderful audience. I'm grateful.
Please round of applause again for Professor Umar Pate. You can see there is no doubt Professor Pate is a reservoir of knowledge. And most of what he was saying was almost off heart, with no recourse to the paper he even brought. That goes to confirm that Professor Umar Pate has really done justice to the paper